Hello, this is Alex. Welcome to Socialism Survival Podcast number 29. I am about to introduce to you my special guests after this short segment of housekeeping and community organizing. I invite you to visit my website at socialismsurvival.com, where you will find links to all my social connections. Introduce others to this show. This is Take America Back action. You need both hands for that. Think of each finger as a person you know, and please share this podcast with at least 10 people you know, asking them to join the action and do the same. Let them know benefits are much greater than with any MLM, multi-level marketing. If we succeed, we will have our freedom back. Thousands or millions of dollars in your 401ks or IRAs will be saved from being confiscated. You will have better health care, not death panels. Your house and your land won't be taken by socialist gang. You will keep your guns and freedom of speech, and your children will get education instead of propaganda brain damage. Maybe then I will quit this show and we'll do something else. But only when we defeat socialism, when we take America back. Until then, hang on with me and with my friends and learn how to survive current regime by being less dependent and more self-sufficient.
Beer cans line the driveway, oil stains on the lawn, a mother doe in the backyard, nursing her new fawn. Mama's in the hedgerow, tending to her still. She makes the best corn whiskey, mister, this side of our hill. Pa did time in a compromise, making payments on this estate. The deeds on lien at the courthouse, and the bank still holds on fair to this hillbilly homestead, where I hang my hat. Front porch there's a rocking chair, and beneath it a string.
Okay, back to the show. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome here Johnny Max and the Queen, hosts of Self-Sufficient Homestead Show. Hey folks, welcome
Hello.
to Socialism Survival Podcast.
Hey, Alex, how you doing? Great to be here, man.
I'm doing very good and ready to go with you guys.
All right, let's do it.
It was really good to be on your show. I was thrilled with that experience, and now it's time for you guys to introduce Self-Sufficient Homestead on Socialism Survival Podcast. Just tell me a little bit about your show, how you started your show, who or what inspired you to start Self-Sufficient Homestead.
Well, whenever the economy started getting bad and retirement funds and stocks started to disappear, I kind of got mad at myself because I thought, man, if I would have taken, some of the money that I've been putting away that kind of just disappeared and put it into becoming more self-sufficient, being able to produce my own food, my own electricity, not requiring so many other services from people to survive, I would have had it made, because if you don't do that and you're having everybody produce everything for you, you have to make a whole lot more money just to survive. And that puts you in higher tax brackets, you're paying more taxes, and you're depending on other things, and you don't have any control over the price. I mean, they can raise it, like when gas hit $4 a gallon. You don't have any control over that. So we decided that we were going to start becoming more self-sufficient here on our home and turn our home into a homestead. Instead of something that just takes our money to keep us cool and run, we were going to try and turn it into a homestead so that it produces for us. And we decided to do a podcast to share our journey with people all over, and we were really surprised how many people are doing the same exact thing, have the same desires, and that people that find our show and didn't realize that they had those desires, and they're on the same journey we are to try and become more self-sufficient. We do the show with a whole lot of fun, a lot of cutting up. We don't tell you step by step how to do everything or anything. It's just to expand your paradigm, your mind, to start thinking about becoming self-sufficient, because everybody has their own wants and desires when it comes to what they want for their future. But if you have that principle of becoming self-sufficient...
I don't want animals in my house.
Emus. Yeah,
Any animals.
Yeah, we were eating tacos tonight with friends because they have a 75-cent taco night, so we kind of splurge and go out. And she was talking to my friend Raybo, and she asked me in front of me, she goes, "Have you seen the emus?" And I go, "Yeah, they're huge monsters, aren't they?"
Listen, can you define for me the meaning of homestead? Is it just a house on a piece of land, or requires something more to call your place a homestead?
Okay, well, let me see if it's been a long time since I read it, but one of the earlier definitions in the United States of America, as far as a homestead, I believe it is considered a piece of land 160 acres in size, which is sufficient to support a family. And I guess in the olden days it would require 160 acres. And but now with technology, and you've got wind generators and solar panels, and you've got intense gardening, you've got aquaponics, there's so much more technology that we've learned on how to get more out of your land. It's possible to use just a small city lot and produce a whole lot more food than you could have back then, with what we know about agriculture and everything, and and being good to your land and taking care of it. But yeah, that's the definition that I go by: 160 acres or any piece of land.
That's pretty good. Johnny Max, talking about the show, was you ready to start it right away? You had all equipment necessary and skills, or you had to learn on the way and get equipment and everything?
Well, we were doing a podcast, Tammy and I and a couple of friends. At first, it was just my dog and I, Captain Ron, who, poor thing, got run down by a four-wheeler.
I've seen that picture. It's pretty cool.
We did a podcast. It was Brew Crazy, and it was to teach people how to homebrew beer. And it wasn't just how to homebrew beer, but it was to teach them how to homebrew gold medal beer and enter competitions. And there was one story. I was talking to a guy that held a big competition on the West Coast for homebrewing, and the guy that won the best of show, the number one beer out of the whole competition, he was talking to him. He said that he learned how to brew by listening to Brew Crazy, which that was good, because I've never won a best of show. I've got a lot of first place in my category, but never a best of show, the number one beer in the whole thing. So we had that, and we were doing that for fun, and we were trying to get people into homebrewing and making their own beer and wine. But this was different, because I told Tammy, I said, let's just you and I do this. I said, because I think we can make a difference, and I said, and it'll also encourage us as we do the show. We'll be doing different things. It'll encourage us to continue on becoming more self-sufficient. What we did not realize, I mean, we've got between 9,000 and 10,000 people who listen to our show every week, and they've done things we haven't done. So we'll say something we may not be, quite understanding. We'll get feedback and information, and they'll help us so that now it's like we're just plugged in to people all over the United States, Australia, the UK, Canada, Mexico, and it helps everybody. It's like we're just a big group of people who are trying to become self-sufficient. We kind of think the same.
Yeah, that's great. And talking about podcasting in general, like starting with a beer talk show, tell me, how easy it was for you to kind of get in this world of podcasting?
Actually, it started out because John did a segment on the first podcast called Educating the Queen. And he was trying to teach me about beers, about taste and types and styles. And every time I would taste a beer in the beginning, I'd go, ooh, yuck, bitter, ooh, yuck.
How you like to be educated?
Well, actually, it worked because how long's it been now?
Oh, going almost 5 years.
And I have found a few beers that I actually like, so,
And she has been asked to be a beer judge in a competition coming up this summer that I'll be going to, too. She's helped them steward before, but after doing the show and she samples beers and she studies the beer style guidelines, and even if she does not like a beer, she can judge the beer by style and give it a very accurate judging. So she's going to be a beer judge this summer, which I was excited about. So she has been educated.
But the Queen, I have a question for you, another one.
Sure.
A little while ago, I sent to you and Johnny Max some of my music, and also I sent you a jerky fish. Why you didn't like it?
I didn't try it. I couldn't make myself try
Why
it.
didn't you try it?
Oh, no.
I got some left.
I can't today.
I got some left.
I can't today.
Come on,
I
woman.
can't today because my stomach got upset after we ate the tacos.
This will
No,
cure you,
bad.
baby. It's the salt in it.
I will try it another day. I promise, Alex, and I'll give you a response on it, but not today.
Yeah.
That was especially to go with your beer,
All right.
Rainbow
all right.
and I did it. Well, it was the dried eyeballs in it. Maybe that might
It's
have
too
been.
lifelike looking.
Talking about preparedness and self-sufficiency, we don't have a lot of plates here, but my wife started a little bit garden in the pots, and what I'm doing, I got a nice fishing pole, and I went fishing. Of course, on my whole day of fishing, I burned pretty good.
That's the time of year to burn.
But I'm catching some fish, and I kind of practicing, kind of restoring that skill to make fish jerky. So maybe I can get you another one later.
Now, when you go fishing, do you go fishing with friends? Do you go fishing by yourself sometimes, or both?
Well, one time I was with my wife and kids, but they got tired pretty quickly. So next time I decided
After about 15 minutes.
Tell your wife to do like I do.
Myself.
I bring a book and I read.
Oh, that's good.
But what I was going to say is when you go fishing by yourself, when you're just sitting there, that's a good time to meditate and
Yes.
and look at creation and the Creator and everything. It's a good time. When you're fishing, catching fish may suck, but fishing's always good. I mean, even if you're not catching anything, just getting out and being away. And like I said, being out in creation and everything, and the way God made everything, is just a good time.
Yeah, there were another guys that I met while fishing, and we were talking, sharing something, and one guy, he caught a huge gar, gar.
Ooh, alligator gar! I know how to clean one with a hatchet.
And and he didn't want to take, so I took it.
I know how to clean them.
Pretty huge. It took a hell of time, to take a fillet out of that gar, and I still didn't cook it, but I
think about grilling it, you know.
Now, I was raised by a Cajun, a Kunas, and we would catch big gar every now and then. He could take a sharp hatchet, and he could clean a gar out in 5 minutes. You set the gar down on his stomach, and you grab that top fin, and you take the hatchet, and you cut that thick skin and scales off. Then you cut the head off. You cut the head through the backbone and the tail, and you pull it out, and you end up with one giant log of meat. Then you take a sharp fillet knife, and you trim off all the red meat. And what's left is clean white meat, big, huge fillets.
Hey, it's good to know. Hey, Jenny Max, when you introduced yourself, you mentioned emus, and it was very interesting to follow your emu story. For my listeners who don't know what I'm talking about, here's the story. Jenny Max thought he needed a big bird for the next Thanksgiving, bigger than turkey. So he did,
taller than a turkey anyway.
Yeah, so he did his research, and then secretly from the Queen, bought how many? 4?
4 emu eggs.
4 emu eggs on eBay. She didn't know anything until
he told me afterwards.
Yeah, these eggs arrived, right? So Johnny Max made the incubator, and then I saw the video of your first emu hatching. What are the final results? How many emus do you have?
Well, they say that when you have emu eggs, you can expect a 60% hatch rate in captivity. And I had 4 eggs, and I had 2 hatch, and 2 did not. They're still in an incubator, but it's more than a week over, so I'm only going to get 2. But actually, yesterday, the one that hatched first is 2 weeks old, and the other one will be 2 weeks old tomorrow.
They're huge.
They're huge.
So how they are doing?
He's almost the oldest one. If he stands up straight, he's about 2 feet tall at 2 weeks old. He's doubling every 2 or 3 days.
You know, guys, you need probably to make another page on a Facebook, like emu fans or something.
Oh, God, Alex, don't encourage him to do something else. He's got too many irons in the fire already.
Yeah, I got my garden going in.
I think this emus became very popular, and when first emu hatched, I suggested on a Facebook that you name your firstborn president. If you not notice that. And listen, here's why. According to the new standards, this Australian, right?
Yes.
Australian bird.
Australian bird.
Australian. Okay. So according to new American standards, this Australian bird, born in USA, has enough experience to be a president.
And it was born in the USA.
Yeah, and in spite of having very small brain, this emu president will make speeches without teleprompter, and just by being there, will constantly remind us that president must be tried in November elections for our happy Thanksgiving meal, right?
Well, actually, it's dumb enough to run for president. I'm too smart. I'll never run for president. Ain't no way I would ever be president of this.
Also, because he's not a turkey, he cannot be pardoned. You know. And the last but not least, if president will try to accuse you of hate speech against him, you can simply tell his agents that will show up at your door. Sorry, guys, you are wrong. I was talking about my emu, and of course it will make sense to name a second emu Michelle.
Michelle and Obama. Yeah, but I'm going to have to butcher them and eat them.
I had some kind of idea, far going.
But they are doing good despite, it was a large learning curve when I went on and I ordered the emu eggs, and the next day I got an email saying that they were being sent and they'd be there in 2 days. And man, I didn't have an incubator or nothing, so I had to scramble. I had plans for incubator, and I had the ice chest, I had the stuff, and I didn't tell the Queen. I told her that we had emus coming as we were recording the show, and she beat the far out of me. Don't hit me. She's gonna do it again. She wasn't happy.
I heard it on the show that followed that egg arrival.
Yeah, she wasn't too happy, but you gotta love the emus. I think it's one of the better things we've done.
I said it was big. I didn't say I loved it.
Yeah, it's. I think it was one of the better things we did. You would not believe how hard it is to hatch out emu eggs.
If I get up one morning and they've hopped out of that thing you got them in the dining room, I'm gonna call you at work and say I'm out of the house. You better come get them things.
I'll say, well, I'll be a little late. You just hang around the front yard.
I'll open the back door and let them just run out.
Yeah, I need to get a pin for them.
You know, guys, one of the main reasons why I wanted you to be on my show is your humor.
What? We're serious. What are you talking about?
Oh, speaking of humor, I have a little Johnny joke.
You know, a few of my past podcasts were kind of like sharing my personal story about survival in Soviet Gulag and Soviet psychiatric institution, you know. So it was kind of like, heavy. A little heavy. So after that, having you on my show, it's just kind of relaxing. So I'm pretty sure my listeners will enjoy it.
Hey, the Queen has something she wanted to say.
I have a little Johnny Max joke. There was a little boy named Johnny Max who used to hang out at the local corner market. The owner didn't know what Johnny Max's problem was, but the boys would constantly tease him. They would always comment that he was 2 bricks shy of a load or 2 pickles short of a barrel. To prove it, sometimes they would offer Johnny Max his choice between a nickel and a dime, and Johnny Max would always take the nickel. They said because it was bigger. One day after Johnny Max grabbed the nickel, the store owner took him aside and said, "Johnny Max, those boys are making fun of you. They think you don't know the dime is worth more than the nickel. Are you grabbing the nickel because it's bigger or what?" Slowly, Johnny Max turned toward the store owner, and with a big grin appearing on his face, Johnny Max said, "Well, if I took the dime, they'd stop doing it. And so far, I've saved $20.
Hey, I got one. I got one.
Very smart guy. Johnny Max.
The Queen and Johnny Max decide to start a farm together. They add up their life savings into a total of $200. Then the Queen decided they needed to purchase a bull with it. Johnny Max agreed. So Johnny Max leaves to go find the perfect bull. When he does find the perfect bull, he's supposed to telegram the Queen and tell her to come and get it. Finally, Johnny Max finds the bull of his dreams. The farmer says he wants $200. Johnny Max thinks he can get a better deal, so he turns it down. The farmer says, "All right, I'll give you a better deal. How about $199? Johnny Max accepts the deal and the bull, and he has $1 left to send a telegram. The telegram guy says, "It's $1 per word." Johnny Max thinks about this and says, "Comfortable." Just write that. Comfortable? The guy says. She goes, "Yeah, she reads slow."
Comfortable.
Another smart Johnny Max joke.
Yes.
Smart Alec.
Yes, Johnny Max, you're a smart guy.
Hey, while we got control of it, that sound means it's time for the news. And we've got a news article brought to you by the Queen.
Local attorney acquitted on federal income tax charges by Larisha Wilson, Shreveport Times, Shreveport, Louisiana. Shreveport attorney who has challenged the government for years of the legality of filing federal income taxes has been acquitted on charges he failed to file returns. A federal jury unanimously found Tommy Cryer not guilty this week of 2 misdemeanor counts of failure to file.
Unanimously.
And according to Cryer, the prosecution dismissed 2 felony charges of tax evasion prior to trial. Attempts by the Times on Thursday to reach U.S. Attorney Donald Washington and Bill Flanagan, First Assistant U.S. Attorney, were not successful. Calls made to the 2 were not immediately returned. The court could not find a law that makes me liable or makes my revenues taxable, Cryer said. The Supreme Court has ruled that the government cannot impose an income tax on anything but the profits and gains. When you work for someone, you give your service and labor in exchange for money.
That's a trade.
So everything you make is not profit or gain. You put something into it. Cryer was indicted last year on 2 counts of tax evasion. The indictment alleged he evaded payment of $73,000 in income tax to the Internal Revenue Service during 2000 and 2001. Cryer created a trust listing himself as the trustee and received payments of dividends, interest, and stock income to that trust. According to the indictment, he also was accused of concealing his receipt of the sources of income from the IRS by failing to file the tax return on behalf of that trust. I determined that my personal earnings were not 100% profits. Some were income, Cryer said. I refuse to file. I refuse to pay unless you can show me I have a lawful reason to pay. What I earned was my own personal labor. I am giving something in exchange. I'm giving my property, and I don't belong to anyone else. Cryer says he stopped filing returns more than 10 years ago after he investigated claims that income tax was a sham. He contends the law doesn't actually tax personal earning.
Huh. Man, you know how much money we give in taxes every year?
Well, yeah.
Oh, well, I'm not a lawyer.
So you can't get away with that.
No, they would throw away the key after they lock me up.
No, you just
all right, any more news, sweetie?
Nope.
That's it for the news.
Well, thank you for the news, and for humor, I really enjoy it because, a few of my last shows, they were really kind of heavy.
Serious.
I was speaking about my life, about the very sad experiences in Soviet Gulag and Soviet psychiatric institutions. Well, it was oppression, and of course, maybe my message was sounding a little bit oppressing, but I'm pretty sure my listeners will enjoy the show and your kind of life approach. And
before you get off of that, you should be very happy now that you've got a future in the USSA, the United Socialist States of America.
Yeah, that's actually another main reason why I wanted you to know. You for me kind of like represent real Americans, because I'm still in somewhere still Ukrainian, trying to be American as much as I can. But you represent for me the American people. And I wanted to, next thing I want to talk is one thing that happened to me when I was on the road. And not only to me, but one thing that happened to America at that time. I was driving the truck in Georgia, and then my phone is ringing. And when I picked up the phone, who was there?
That was
Johnny
me.
Max. Johnny Max was there, and he sounded kind of like also oppressed, but by another regime, American socialistic regime, because right at that time, U.S. Congress was voting on so-called universal health care bill, and Johnny Max was very sad.
Yeah, I remember that. It was a Sunday evening a couple of weeks ago, and as they were passing it, I wanted to call you and talk to you because I knew you would understand how bad and how serious it really was. And we talked for a while about it. But it was a very sad day for America, I believe.
Yeah, and later I was thinking about your call and about this bill, and I decided I need Johnny Max and the Queen come on my show and discuss this bill and what it will make for America. What will be the consequences of having such a bill passed? Even for me, who is out of this country, kind of like immigrant, living here not really long, but even I can see that it's kind of like slavery. It's unconstitutional, and I just astounded, how American people can bear it.
Yeah, well, they're not. They're definitely not behind it. They're not for it. And the ones that pass this through, they're not Democrat and they're not Republican. They're progressives. That's why they don't care if they go against the will of the people. They don't care if the Democrats lose in the next round of elections. They're in there, and they've got enough power to push their agenda through, and they've been trying to push it through for about 100 years. And it's gone through. And I know that Texas and a handful of other states have filed lawsuits saying that it's not constitutional, that they can't put this type of burden on state people, that the state has the control. But I'm afraid that the way they don't really go by the letter of the Constitution. They do whatever they want. They pass their own laws and rules, and I'm afraid we're stuck with it. And they're going to first, they're not having any control on the insurance companies for pricing. They're saying they have to do this, they have to insure everybody. The insurance companies are businesses, and they've got to make a profit or they go out of business. They're not doing it as a charity. They're not funded by the government. So they have no controls on them for pricing. So they're going to push all of these requirements that they've got to insure everybody and no matter what, and it's going to drive them out of business unless they raise their rates. So they're going to have to raise their rates because they're a company that has to make a profit. And in the next several years, their prices are going to get so high, the people are going to rebel and say, we cannot pay these high prices. And the government will come in and save everybody, and they'll say, we'll just do away with all the insurance and we'll take it over. And then they will have control over our health care is the whole plan. That's the way I see it. And who knows how it's going to affect us ultimately. This is just one of the many nails in the coffin. But we are living in the United States of America, and I believe this is a global thing. It's not just going to happen here. I think I was telling people 3+ years ago that this is when America was doing good. We were booming. The stock market was so high. Everybody was rich. And I was saying, they're going to try and break the American economy. They're going to crush the dollar. What they have to do is get the dollar so that it's worth no more than the Mexican peso, with the exchange rates like 13-1. And we're not there yet. But if they don't stop all this spending and bailouts and sending money to banks overseas or whatever, they're going to break the economy. I don't see how we can even pay for the debt that we have, much less the debt that this bill that we talked about, this health care, will do. We're in trouble. We're going down eventually. It's too much of a burden for the country and the people to bear. And constitutionally, by the Constitution of the United States of America, it's a burden that they had no right to put on us.
Yeah, as I said, I maybe not so educated in American law, and I read the Constitution, but still, there are different people try to interpret it differently. But what I know very good, I know socialists, and I know they are liars, and even what they have in this bill, it's not a final. And what you just said, that they trying to break this economy, that's exactly how socialists work. They need some kind of chaos. They need to create some kind of despair. They even what they are trying to do, and what they really want to do, they want to create a situation when the American people would ask them, would beg them to give them something like that.
Yes. Well, they have created despair in me and in the path that we're going down, and it just really escalated my plans towards self-sufficiency. Here about a week and a half ago, the Queen and I purchased 5 acres of land in a very poor county in the state of Texas. It gets the most rainfall in the state of Texas, 54 inches a year. It's on the edge of the big thicket. We're pretty close. It's on the Louisiana border. The county is. The population of the whole county is only 15,000. And it's a piece of land that has been bulldozed. It's going to require a little bit of work. I have to fence it and put animals on it. I'm going to get them to be my lawnmowers instead of I was going to just bush hog all the grass down. I decided I would turn it into goat meat. and let them bulldoze, let them cut the grass, and then and raise them and process them. But it's pushing me a little bit more rural. I'm trying to get so that I do not have to be so dependent on electricity off of the grid. I am looking into wind generators because, by federal law, if you produce more electricity than you use, they have to pay you back for it. So I'm looking into that.
Is it such law?
That's what I was told. I'm looking into it. I've got to talk to the people that put it in. And if you actually tie into the electrical grid and you're getting electricity from the provider, you don't have to buy batteries. Mm-hmm. When your generator, whether it be solar generator, solar panels, or wind generator, they have inverters that sync and tie into the grid, and they put in a meter for you that reverses. So if you're not there and your solar panels or your wind generators are producing electricity, it turns the meter backwards. So instead of storing your electricity in batteries, you're storing it on the grid. And then at nighttime, when you got things going, cooking, listening to stereo, recording your podcast, then you're pulling the meter back the other way. So that's what I'm looking into right now. I don't have enough information to say that's what I'm going to do for a fact. But I do know that the federal government, to encourage people to get wind generators, will pay for 30% of an installed system. So that's a reason to have a system turnkey installed. So I'm looking into that.
Oh, okay. Coming back to the healthcare bill, I remember when this bill was still in discussions a few months ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard talk show hosts urging people to call, and I thought maybe all America was calling this Congress to stop this bill, but these socialists in the Congress, they just didn't listen to people. And I remember I told my listeners in one of my podcasts at that time that it will not work. There should be something else, maybe something more of the action, done.
I know what you're talking about. The people revolt, but they don't care, like I said, because they're not Democrats, and it's not Democrat driven and it's not Republican Party driven. They don't care if that party gets struck out. They're in both parties, and they're using it to get their agenda done. They've been trying to do this for years, and now they're in power, and it's going to happen. They don't care. And if they're doing things, it seems it's almost intentional, in our face, to get the people mad. And if the people do get mad and do revolt, I think they're ready. I think they're ready, and when the people revolt, they'll say, look how bad these people are. We've got to enact these laws and these controls to stop and squash these people to save the rest of the good people in the country. And they'll use that. They'll use that to get more control.
Yeah, but listen, there was a situation in the Ukraine when government, they kind of like run illegal election, forged the results, and people just went out. It was the winter, and people went out on the streets of Kiev, Ukrainian capital, and they refused to go. And the government tried to use the army, but army just refused to deal with such a crowd. So I was thinking, if like 1 million of American people would come to the Washington and stay there until they refuse to accept that bill, I don't think they probably could do something to the people. But I thought just American people, they just didn't believe that it will happen first. And second, they probably were not ready or were just afraid of the consequences, as you said.
I know what the American people could do, but they'll never do it. We lived in the Dominican Republic as missionaries. And remember, every now and then, whenever they wanted certain things from the government, sweetie, what did the people of the Dominican Republic do when they wanted, better water or lower prices on this, that, and the other? The government, remember what they did?
They protested, went on strike.
The whole country went on strike. You know what that means? Nobody left their house. Nobody left their house. They shut the economy down. You shut it down for a few days. You know how much revenue that is for a government? No taxes, nobody buying nothing. If everybody in the United States of America would say, we're going to just sit out for a week or two and we're not going to do nothing, they would lose $1 billion. They couldn't afford it. They would shut the United States of America down, and everybody would be crying. They would have to listen to the people. But, America's too divided.
That would be very effective. I agree with you.
But we're too divided. There are too many people who are money hungry, have to work, have to do, and figure that they're just not a part of the system. They just go with the flow.
Yeah. Well, nothing of things that you or me that we proposed actually happened. So, but in the meantime, as you said, you are at least acting. You are doing something, and I'm kind of a little bit jealous. I wish I could do something like you doing, like buying the land and becoming self-sufficient. But at least we understand that, me and my wife, we understand that, and that is our goal. And what I want, and what I want from this show, in particular, for our listeners to hear and to learn and to understand the importance of being self-sufficient.
Yeah, self-sufficient, and I think it was President Obama when he was campaigning, when they were talking about cap and trade, which it didn't pass, but it did, because they just gave all authority to the EPA to enforce all the rules and regulations. So they just kind of slid it underneath without actually ever voting on it. That he said that would necessarily make the prices of electricity skyrocket. So that motivates me to be super, super self-efficient. I've got the Queen convinced, and she's on board 100%. I would say, I'm pretty sure to say 100% about building her a house that is made out of straw bales. It has to be very nice because I take care of the Queen. She's got a high standard of living because she's the Queen. And it looks like adobe, but they're very efficient with a concrete floor with tile, so that the earth controls the temperature and keeps it kind of ambient. The walls and ceilings very, very well insulated at like 50 to 60 R factor. And so I've got to do it right, but she's agreed. I've got a lot of books on it, different styles and houses, and I'm doing my research now. And
that sounds very interesting. And listening to you, I remember something, maybe it's a little bit different than what you're talking about. But I remember as a little boy in the Ukraine, I watched how people were building houses, and people actually helped each other to build houses. And I remember, when our house was built, many friends, they came to the property. They digged the ditch in the ground.
Yes.
They put their brown clay, and
build the
water, and they threw there a lot of straw, and they were walking there with their bare feet to mix that clay with a straw, and then they had special forms that they filled that forms with that mix, and when that dried, it was ready blocks for building a house, And it's very interesting.
Remember when Pharaoh, when Moses was telling him to let the people go? You can't build bricks without straw. So, it's the same thing. It goes back that far back, mixing the clay and the mud with straw to make bricks. But we don't have that in the United States anymore, like you talked about. Maybe it's not in the Ukraine either, where everybody is a community and they come together. Someone needs a house, the whole community comes together, and in a few days they do what would take months or even longer for one person to do. They work together and help each other out. Now we're so dependent on keeping up with the Joneses. We work and make money. We pay people to do stuff for us because we're not self-sufficient. We don't do it ourselves anymore. We have other people do it for us. We've lost all that. We've lost the being in tune with the community and being self-sufficient.
Yeah, but also like you and me, we are kind of far away from each other. So the way we can help each other and encourage each other, just maybe going on each other's podcasts, and speaking to the people that listen to us. But if we would be closer, maybe I would take off my shoes and help you to mix the
mix the mud. And I'll try not to just call you with bad news. I just had to talk to you when I saw it going down. I knew you would understand how bad and how serious it was. I just needed to talk to someone that understood how dire and bad shape that we were in at that moment in time and from then on.
Yeah, and of course at that time in the Ukraine when I was a little boy, we didn't have the phone, we didn't have internet, of course. There was different time, but now we have this opportunity to share, the experiences, to encourage each other. And before we will come to the closing of this show, I wanted you to talk a little bit about your new thing that you're doing on internet, about your new website.
Thanks. Yeah, we the Queen and I, we have a new website that's called heirloomseedswap.com. And the reason I had done it is I had found some seed exchanges out there, and it said that they had thousands of different seeds that you could exchange, but you had to pay $40 a year membership even to have access to see it. And, I could afford $40 right now, but I couldn't justify it. And you probably have the same thing. There's on my show, I'm figuring there's about 20% of my listeners who are unemployed and out of work. They definitely can't afford it. So I decided to set up a website, and like I said, it's heirloomseedswap.com. And I've already exchanged quite a few seeds, and it's totally free. You go there, if you have seeds to exchange, you can put up there and say, I'll trade for these seeds, and I'm looking for these seeds. I've traded seeds with Jack Spirico. I've traded seeds with quite a few people. And all it cost me was a 44-cent postage stamp. And I've got some seeds I'd never heard of. I saw them posted on there. We've only got, about maybe 25, 30 seeds on there right now, and it may not look like much, but what it is people put their seeds on there, and once they're exchanged and traded, they're gone. But, yeah, if anybody wants to do it.
It's a good beginning,
Yeah, it's only 2.5 weeks old, the site, so it's doing real good. Jack Spirico helped quite a bit. And several other people.
I heard Jack Spirico on his show. He did a really good job to promote this site. And,
he was begging his listeners to help. I mean, he was on his knees begging them. He didn't just suggest it. He was begging them. And I couldn't believe he did that. I appreciated it so much because he's got a lot of influence. But he's actually helping me with the site. He's helping me a whole lot. He's really guided me. He's given me a lot of advice, and I'm taking his advice word for word because he knows a lot about this stuff where I used to think I do. But I know he does for a fact, and I think that's why the site's kicking off so good because he's helping me. And if you ever listen to the show, thank you, Jack. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, and I also listen to Survival Podcast and to your show. And guys, I'm learning a lot from you, even though I'm kind of from the Ukraine. We had a lot of that experience, but I understand that here in America, the different zones, different temperatures, the climates, and we have to learn kind of anew. We have to learn a lot. So I believe when we will be ready to purchase the land, we will be ready to start right away, planting and doing maybe permaculture and
definitely,
maybe raising fish and I don't know, a lot of things.
I got emus, chickens, rabbits. I got rabbits now. I got tilapia, quail. Got my garden going. Woo! I'm a happy camper, man.
Yeah, that's a great, and you guys just the example for me, and I reserve the privilege to call you when I will need some of advice and
you can count on it.
Help.
No problem.
Now. I listen to the podcast, too. I listen to Jack Spirko. I listen to Bubba Tanicles. I listen to different podcasts. And it affects me the same way that it affects people that listen to our show. It's too easy to get complacent and in your daily routine, going to work, and you're working for the money, you're buying your groceries, you're paying your taxes, and that's your center of your life. But when you start listening to all these shows, it affects me the same way. It gives you a desire to get out of that rut, out of the dependency on the system, and become more self-sufficient, more self-reliant. So when the system prices skyrocket and goes crazy, it doesn't bring you down with it. That you're on your own. You're unplugged from the craziness because you're working land. On my next show, we're going to be talking about our second job. And my second job is here on my homestead, growing gardens, raising rabbits, quails, chickens. It's producing food. That is my second job, and I'm starting to look at it as a second job, and I need to put in a certain amount of hours and a certain amount of work, and it's a job, and it's going to pay in self-sufficiency and helping me provide for the Queen and my daughters. Anyway.
I forgot to ask you, what is your first job? What are you doing for a job, like first job?
Oh, I work for a company, and I actually design underground drainage systems and concrete and paving drainage systems for refineries. And,
is it like computer design?
On computers, I use Tekla, MicroStation, and AutoCAD. And the economy worldwide is shut down as far as refinery expansion. And I'm going to be out of things to do here in about 2 months if my company doesn't get another contract. So then I'll be in deep hooey. I'll be in the stuff the emu walk around in if I don't clean their pen. If I don't, but I'm not too worried. God will provide. That's also helped me escalate my plan. We'll be moving to that land, and if I can't keep the payment on this house, I don't know what I'll do. I'm trying to get it so that I'm keeping it up, and I'll keep it up and just try and sell it. But that's not my plan. But, plans change with circumstances. But that's one of my fears. I probably shouldn't even mention that. I'm fearful like a lot of people in the United States right now.
Do you think if more and more people become self-sufficient, it will work actually against the socialism, against the attempts to build socialistic country out of the United States?
Now, I don't know how we're going to stop them. We've got to vote them out with such authority and such power that it's a super majority that can override a veto, and it has to be done quick enough that they can undo this bill. If they had a super majority, meaning that if they pass something through saying that this law, health care is unconstitutional, the President of the United States can veto it. But if they have a super majority, they can override his veto. He becomes a lame duck president at that point, has no power at all. And this is his agenda, along with not just him, but all of the progressives that are pushing this agenda. But yeah, that's one thing. If they can do it real quick, if they can get a supermajority in there, it doesn't have to be a supermajority of Republicans or Democrats. It can be a supermajority of people who are against this agenda, and run a campaign saying that they're against this agenda, and they will do anything and everything to bring back freedom to American citizens. It can happen.
So becoming more and more self-sufficient, is it taking steps against socialism, against this kind of healthcare and other things that they want to do?
Well, I don't know that it'll stop it, but I think it helps separate you from it and put a barrier of security that you have control over between you and God, and you working in God's creation, the things that He's set up and allowed to work, happen, and function. You're just taking advantage of creation and the way God set things up to work. Will it stop socialism? No, but it can give you a world that you can live and survive in. It doesn't say that you should unplug from the United States of America and society, because people like this who are worried about freedoms need to be aware and plugged in to society and give their input and vote. It won't stop it, but like I said, it will give you a little buffer around your family where when things fall around you, you can still provide for your family and have some security in your abilities and your self-sufficiency. 100% no, but it will help.
I forgot to ask you, but I want you to say that before we finish the show. Tell my listeners your website and how they can participate and how they can contact you.
Okay. We have a website which is sshomestead.com. That's SS as in Sam, or short for self-sufficient. It's www.sshomestead.com. That's the home site for our show, and you can download our shows there and send feedback. Or you can go to iTunes and just do a search for Self-Sufficient Homestead. I think if you do a search for Self-Sufficient, it comes up. And you can email the Queen and I directly if you would like to have any questions or comments or suggestions. You can email feedback at sshomestead.com. We also have a forum. It's not real active like Jack Spirko's, but it's kind of focused on things around the homestead, becoming self-sufficient. If you want to find that, just go to sshomestead.com. There's a big button on there. I think it's got a picture of a donkey on it. It says forum. Don't ask me why I put a donkey on it. It's actually the head of a stuffed toy donkey. I think it's the one from Shrek. But yeah, that's how you can contact us. And and if you contact me, we will get back with you.
And of course, you are on Facebook.
Yes, the easiest way to befriend us on Facebook is to go to our webpage, sshomestead.com, and there's a picture of the Queen and I on the main page. And above each of us is a button. One says Johnny Mac's Facebook, and the other says the Queen Facebook. You click either of those buttons, and it goes directly to our Facebook. Send us a friend request, and we will befriend you. And you can keep track of what's going on in our life and around the homestead. And what's pretty cool is I can keep track with what's going on in other people's, and it helps encourage us.
Yeah, it kind of warms me up, when I go on Facebook and I see you guys there, and I see your posts over there. And as I said, I was following the emu story.
Yeah.
And I listen to your podcast too, and I'm happy for you guys that you got that seed exchange started, and I hope in a short time maybe I'll find the way to get there. I don't have any seeds maybe for exchange, and I don't have even Belgian beer for exchange.
Now, I did want to mention one thing now that you mentioned the seeds. I had ordered, that we did a show on stevia, which was the The herb is 250 to 300 times sweeter than sugar. And I had ordered some seeds from Burpee Seed Company, which I appreciate them. They do a good service. But it was almost $5, $4.95, and I got 15 seeds. And I went back on the internet and it said, for 15 seeds. I'm thinking, man, that's expensive. So that kind of upset me too. I thought, people, this is something that everybody should have available. So I actually have 80,000 seeds being shipped in from Uruguay, which is where stevia is naturally grown. And and hopefully I can get those available. They will be available in the seed swap. I'm probably going to put them for sale or trade, because if somebody does not have seeds to trade and they want them, I'll put some kind of pittance down there so that they'll cover my shipping and hopefully help me reimburse, at least cover partial of what I had to sip in to order them. But it was nowhere near $5 for 15 seeds. They're just trying to take advantage of us in the new thing of stevia.
Hey, Johnny Max, did you actually receive that Belgian beer for exchange?
Yeah, we drank it on the last Beer Talk radio show. We ended up doing a whole show on that beer, and that's what we judged.
It was a Hogarten something.
It was a Hogarten Grand Cru from Belgium, made by Hogarten. So, yeah, I exchanged some okra seeds for a bottle of beer that a guy's wife brought back from Belgium. I thought that was cool. There's no way I ever could have got a beer like that, so I thought that was neat. I think I came out on the deal, and he thinks he came out on the deal, so that's great.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that particular thing because through my life I've been to Belgium a couple of times, and of course I know what is Belgian beer.
Now on the seed exchange, I think Jack Spirico has put on there that he'll exchange seeds, or you can get them for a silver dime. I think another person or two has done the same thing out there. You get a silver dime, you can get them. He's trying to add to his silver stash.
You're okay with that, right?
Oh, if you go to the site, it says you can put them for exchange or sale. You can do anything. I encourage people, especially those who are good in gardening, to get into seed saving. It's really easy. And they can, if they did it almost like a business, they could have a lot of seeds and they could start a small business selling seeds. If they wanted to sell them on Heirloom Seed Swap free, they can do it. I don't care. It helps go against Monsanto, who are buying up all the seed companies and everything. And, it's just big business. They're just trying to just take over everything. It's hard to get seeds from any big supplier because Monsanto's buying them up.
Thank you, Jenny Max and the Queen. It was really a good time with you.
Thank you for having us, Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad to kind of know you better, and we'll stay in touch. And I know that before we'll close the show, that God is in control on this earth.
Amen.
And he's still the God of this whole earth.
Now let us close like we normally close.
Till next time.
Be wise.
Be sweet.
And be self-sufficient.